Preface: I work nights and she works a day shift. Her job is a male-dominated field, and she seems to be with coworkers more frequently. There is female support staff like office jobs, parts rooms, etc. We're both in our 40s and been together since 17 years old. She only started a career in the last couple of years, so a workplace relationship wouldn't have presented itself in the past. Here recently she's been hanging out with her female coworkers after work. Many nights she gets off work around 5 and isn't home until about 7 or 8 a time or two. She didn't come home until the morning because she got drunk with them and slept it off there. I find that unusual because she's very responsible, doesn't usually get carried away in social situations. At that point, I'm not highly concerned. Last night I wasn't scheduled to work, so I was in bed at a normal hour. I awakened by her cell phone screen in bed at 3 a.m. I couldn't see if she was texting or browsing the net, and she wasn't being secretive with her screen, like angling it away, etc. So that's probably innocuous. Then she got up and started getting ready for work. Now her shift starts at 8 and she wouldn't need to leave earlier than 7 if she wanted to grab a bite before going in. I asked her. I thought, your shift doesn't start until 8. She acknowledged that, but said she was going for a walk with her coworkers before work. She's a diesel mechanic and they have uniforms at work, and she seemed more cleaned up than expected for a walk of work. Not dolled up, but she was out of the house by about 4 a.m. and would likely be to her friends by 4:30. It's still very dark and it was rainy, drizzling, and about 45 degrees out. Nobody owns a raincoat in Arizona, so it wouldn't be pool condition for a walk. Well, she drives a truck and I drive a car. So I texted around 5 to ask if I could get the truck so I could take some things to the dump. She didn't answer. 15 minutes later, I called to ask. She said they were still out on their walk, but to just come to her work when she gets there and get it. Then if not for the rain, I would have thought it a good opportunity to see her if her hair is damp from a second shower. My brain works a bit differently than most important social cues, etc. Am I overthinking this update? I confronted her by asking to see her phone. She tried to flip the script and demand my phone, so I gave it to her along with the password. I had nothing to hide. I don't even have time for meeting others anyways. I looked through her messages and the one conversation I wanted to go through was conveniently missing. So I typed in the phone number and her boyfriend or whomever's name popped up. I handed the phone and said I want to see the text with him. She acted incredulous and it showed her some of what I knew. Then she texted him before leaving the home today, and when she got back and that I knew she was with him when she was supposedly in Vegas, she tried to act like she did not know why her phone carrier would have several pages of texting records between her and him, since she didn't want to do anything other than storm off upstairs and retreat to the bed. I went up and told her I was packing a bag and leaving. I packed up and left. I'm sorry to hear you're going through this op. Trust is paramount in a relationship and it seems to be eroding here. Your suspicion wasn't baseless. It was based on changes in her behavior that made you feel uncomfortable. What struck me is how you're striving to be rational despite your pain. It's admirable. Remember, it's okay to lean on others for support, family and friends. As for the next steps, it's crucial to ensure you're legally protected, and especially if you're married. Speaking to a lawyer might be beneficial. Remember, you don't have to rush into any decisions. It's okay to take time to process, to grieve, and to figure out what you want moving forward. You're more than this situation, and you will emerge stronger on the other side. Stay strong and take care. AP update: what a police investigator taught me about doing the confrontation. The first thing he told me was on small crimes less than homicide. The guilty rarely confess, and even if they do, they would hold a lot of information. So even if your partner admits to a one-night moment of weakness, they won't tell you about the 6 months of regular cheating. So forget about getting a confession. By the time you're at this point, you're ready to press charges, so to speak, and you're just trying to get additional information to be used against them later. He also told me to start the conversation with "I know more than you think." I know. So start talking. The truth is the only thing that's going to help you here. Don't let on how much you know. This is high-stakes poker, so don't show your cards. He also said that even though you're going to search his phone, expect to find nothing. It's either extremely well hidden or already deleted. Unless they are just stupid, The guilty will hide their evidence in anticipation of the day the confrontation comes. What you need is to prove that the texts and call logs are missing. You see, you should be downloading the text records and calls from your service provider and familiar with the dates and time gaps where they didn't text. The person is likely because they were with him at the time. This probably matches an absence, remember? You want them to believe you now, but without playing out how limited your information is, rarely will you have proof of them in the act. The confrontation. Ask them for their phone. They will protest this and demand to see your phone, making similar accusations. To be prepared for scrutiny yourself as expected. My wife did this, saying, "I don't even know your password. You won't tell me." Keep in mind the guilty fear discovery. They'll be more concerned about what you're doing with their phone than going through your phone. So observe their level of interest in finding damning info on you. My wife barely scrawled the text list and didn't even get into the pictures, which many guys keep. She was looking at the phone in my hand as I was scrolling through innocuous texts. "See, I don't know what you think I'm doing." Then I went to the phone icon, typed in his number and pressed the text icon. No messages. Big surprise, right? Going back to his contact and showed it to her and said, "Where's his text set?" She was like, "We don't ever talk." I called back and told her that just last month alone she had over 900 texts with him. "Where are they?" She acted incredulous, but she knew that number was probably pretty accurate. She admitted to deleting them. Partial truth, right? Because they were talking about how she wanted a divorce, but she wasn't ready to tell me yet. Don't give too many details, like how far back you suspect it. You can give a little to add credibility that you already know everything. Knowing how many texts helped me because it was a hard fact and irrefutable, and sent the message. I wasn't lying when I said I knew things. What I said above is how the guilty act. See the guilty fear discovery. They will dodge, deflect, etc. Even expect them to tell you where they went. But remember how much they tell you. If the details are vague and reaching, keep pressing for more information. Many lies are only minimally planned. They might be able to tell you about going to the bar with a friends, but they won't have much details, like how someone almost got punched or who won at darts, etc. Spouses will tell you about their fun night with friends voluntarily, but the guilty spouse will want you to know why you keep asking. As I said, they already know the confrontation is coming, so they're already planning their response. They're thinking to themselves, how would an innocent person handle this? This even goes for calling light attention to themselves. My adult daughter called my wife and accused her first wife, then told me about the confrontation. 2 reasons: she had to talk to me first to see the conversation in case daughter called me, but also because the guilty think if they stand in the light a little, then that attention goes away. I was stupid and should have asked why our daughter thought that. Like what specifically, she said, etc. I should have even called my daughter. How would your innocent spouse respond if talking to you about someone else's accusations against them? They would likely welcome an opportunity to give unsolicited explanations in detail because they have a clean conscience. Now think about how an innocent person handles the confrontation. They would likely be annoyed that you want to see their phone because there's still some expectation of a minor level of personal privacy. They would still surrender the phone without much fight. They would be confused more than anything really innocent. Don't try to deceive, and don't certainly rehearse it. Also, remember this. The best lies have some truth mixed in them. My wife claims she was alone at the tattoo shop getting sketches done, but she didn't come home with any sketches. She didn't take any pictures of them and had very little detail. She showed me online pics of what she wanted. Her appointment was at 1, but she left the house at 11:30 and would have only needed 45 minutes to drive there. She came home about 6 now. I believe she went to the tattoo parlor that day, but I believe she went to his house first. They went together, got an appointment card for another appointment. Future alibi, maybe had a nice lunch together, and then went back to his place for a romp and then came home. It was that evening I confronted her, so don't expect. Just because they can prove their whereabouts doesn't mean they can account for all the time easily. She said traffic was really bad, but no details about the crash, like a blue Honda flipped over, etc. She also said she went to the Home Depot looking for some rings for a lifting strap but couldn't find them. Empty-handed errands. There's more things he taught, but I can't recall all of them. We'll update if I remember. I think your approach to gathering evidence and keeping a cool head throughout that confrontation was very wise. This goes to show how important it is to be articulate and patient when dealing with such a painful situation. What stood out to me is how you highlighted the difference in your behavior between a guilty person and an innocent one during a confrontation. That's something many people may not consider. It's evident you took a lot of care in how you handled the confrontation, which is commendable. Going forward, it's important to remember that you've done everything you could in this situation, and any outcome is not a reflection of you. Your experience could also help others going through a similar ordeal and sharing the stories, likely helping people you may not even be aware of. Update: she's still with him. Doubt it's going to work out for us. I've acknowledged I have anger issues, and that's what ultimately drove her away. I've actually been making pretty good progress. She hasn't ever admitted to the affair, but I can forgive because of my role in the whole thing. She's told me that there's no hope of us reconciling, and she suggested we cohabitate with the kids. Well, I was optimistic that maybe we may one day reconcile. I'm concerned that the cohabitation was a compromise she was offering because she was still afraid. So I offered her a divorce, if that is what she really wants. She made no mention of it since I took that to mean maybe she doesn't want that. Who knows, maybe even she was softening up a little. We even took the kids to dinner last night and she was pleasant and conversational, even looking at me while talking. I really thought maybe the ice around her heart was melting. Then on the way home, she took a little barb at me, like to remind herself she doesn't love me. Well, this morning she was gone. I knew where she was unknown to her. I know where he lives. I took photos of her truck in his trailer car park before. I don't know why I even bothered, but maybe to get a gauge on her emotions. When I got there, it was just his truck and the drive. But then I saw her truck parked nearby. She didn't know I was there, but she texted me asking if we needed garbage bags, etc. I told her we were low and then asked if she was at the grocery store and if she was to get me some more creamer.